I remember the day I first met Jessica like it was yesterday. It was at a friend's wedding where the air was filled with laughter and love. She stood out from the crowd, her smile lighting up the room, and I was instantly drawn to her. We struck up a conversation, and from that moment on, we were inseparable. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and it wasn't long before we were talking about our future together, dreaming of a life filled with love, adventure, and eventually, a family. We married 2 years later in a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. It felt like the perfect beginning to our happily ever after. We bought a cozy house, spent weekends exploring new places, and supported each other in our careers. Jessica worked in finance, a demanding job that often required late nights and occasional weekend meetings. I was an architect, my hours more flexible, allowing me to be there for her whenever she needed. For the first few years, everything was as perfect as I had imagined. We had our share of arguments, as all couples do, but we always found a way to resolve them. Jessica had a way of making me feel like the luckiest man alive. She was charming, intelligent, and incredibly beautiful. However, as time went on, I started to notice subtle changes in her behavior. Little things at first. She became more secretive with her phone, started working late more often, and seemed distant, lost in her own thoughts. I brushed off my concerns initially, attributing them to the stress of her job, but as the months passed, my suspicions grew. I began to feel like I was living with a stranger. Our conversations became strained, and her once affectionate demeanor turned cold. The late nights became more frequent, and there were times when she wouldn't come home until the early hours of the morning, claiming she was with clients or at work events. One night, after she'd come home particularly late, I decided to talk to her about it. We were sitting on the couch, the silence between us heavy and uncomfortable. "Jessica," I started, my voice trembling slightly. "I've noticed you've been working late a lot recently. Is everything okay at work?" She glanced at me, her eyes briefly meeting mine before looking away. "Yeah, everything's fine. Just a lot of deadlines and important meetings. You know how it is." I wanted to believe her, but the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. "It just feels like we're drifting apart. I miss you." She sighed, a hint of frustration in her voice. "I'm sorry, Alex. I know it's been hard, but I'm doing this for us, for our future." Her words were meant to reassure me, but they felt hollow. I wanted to believe her, to trust that everything was as she said. But the distance between us continued to grow, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As the weeks turned into months, my suspicions grew stronger. Jessica's behavior became increasingly erratic. She would often leave the room to take phone calls, whispering into her phone and hanging up abruptly when I entered. She began spending weekends away, claiming they were business trips, but I noticed she was evasive about the details. One evening, after another late night at work, I decided to take a closer look at our finances. I knew it was an invasion of her privacy, but I needed to understand what was going on. As I went through the bank statements, I found several charges from expensive restaurants and hotels that I had no recollection of. My heart sank as I realized these were places I had never been with her. The next day, I confronted her. She was getting ready for work, and I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, holding the bank statements. "Jessica, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm. She looked up, a hint of annoyance crossing her face. "Can it wait? I'm running late." "No, it can't," I replied. "I found these charges on our account, restaurants, hotels, places we've never been together. What's going on?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment, I saw panic in her expression, but she quickly composed herself. "Those are business expenses, Alex. You know I entertain clients regularly." "Entertain clients? At luxury hotels and restaurants?" I asked, my voice rising. "This doesn't add up, Jessica." She sighed, exasperated. "Why don't you trust me? I thought we were in this together." "I want to trust you," I said, my voice softening. "But your behavior lately, it's like you're hiding something from me. Please, just tell me the truth." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I thought she was going to open up. But then she shook her head, wiping her eyes. "I can't do this right now. I have to go." And with that, she grabbed her bag and left, leaving me standing there, feeling more confused and hurt than ever. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. It was a Saturday night when everything came crashing down. Jessica had told me she was going out with some colleagues to celebrate a successful project completion. She promised she wouldn't be too late. But as midnight approached and there was no sign of her, my anxiety grew. I called her several times, each call going straight to voicemail. My mind raced with possibilities, each one more dreadful than the last. Desperate for answers, I decided to reach out to my friend Mark, someone I trusted implicitly. Mark and I had been friends since college, and he was like a brother to me. When I explained the situation, he agreed to help me uncover the truth. A few days later, Mark called me with news that made my blood run cold. He had a friend who frequented a popular club downtown, the same club Jessica had mentioned in passing. This friend had seen her there, not with colleagues, but with a man who was definitely not a co-worker. They had left the club together, looking very much like a couple. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Anger, betrayal, and heartbreak surged through me as I tried to make sense of what I had just heard. I knew I needed to confront Jessica, but I wanted concrete evidence before I did. Mark suggested we follow her the next time she went out. Reluctantly, I agreed. It was a painful decision, but I needed to know the truth. The following weekend, Jessica claimed she had another work event. Mark and I followed her to the same club, parking a safe distance away. My heart pounded in my chest as we watched her meet the same man from before. They laughed and held each other as they walked inside. We waited for what felt like an eternity. Finally, they emerged, their bodies close as they made their way to his car. Mark's friend, who had been inside the club, confirmed they had spent the entire evening together, dancing and drinking, completely at ease with each other. That night, I confronted Jessica. She came home late again, her steps unsteady and her eyes glassy from alcohol. "Where have you been?" I asked, my voice barely concealing my anger. She looked at me, a mixture of surprise and irritation on her face. "I told you, I was out with colleagues." "Stop lying to me, Jessica," I snapped. "I know you weren't with colleagues. I know about the other man." Her expression shifted from irritation to shock, then to defiance. "What are you talking about?" "I had you followed," I admitted, the words bitter on my tongue. "I know you've been cheating on me." The room fell silent, the weight of my accusation hanging heavily in the air. Jessica's eyes flickered with a range of emotions: anger, guilt, and something else I couldn't quite place. "So what if I was?" she finally said, her voice cold and detached. "What difference does it make?" Her words hit me like a physical blow. "How can you say that? We've built a life together. How could you throw it all away for some fling?" "It's not just a fling, Alex," she said, her tone still icy. "I need more than what you can give me." I stared at her, struggling to understand. "What are you talking about?" "I need security," she said, her voice rising. "Financial security, stability. You're a good man, Alex, but your dreams of starting your own architectural firm are just that, dreams. I need someone who can provide for me now, not in some uncertain future." Her words cut deeper than any knife. "So this is about money?" "It's about my future," she replied. "Our future. I thought you understood that." "I thought our future was about us," I said, my voice breaking. "About building a life together no matter what." Jessica shook her head, her eyes filled with a mixture of regret and resolve. "I'm sorry, Alex. I never wanted to hurt you, but I can't live like this anymore." The confrontation ended with Jessica walking out the door, leaving me to grapple with the shattered pieces of our life. The following days were a blur of pain and confusion as we began the process of separating our lives. The divorce was swift and brutal, a stark contrast to the love and joy we had once shared. I remember the day we signed the divorce papers. It was a gray, rainy morning, the weather reflecting the heaviness in my heart. We met at a lawyer's office, the atmosphere cold and sterile. Jessica looked composed, her face a mask of indifference, while I struggled to keep my emotions in check. As we went through the formalities, I couldn't help but glance at her, searching for any sign of the woman I had fallen in love with. But all I saw was a stranger, someone who had shattered my world without a second thought. When it was over, she left without a word, and I was left standing there, feeling more alone than ever. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. In the months that followed, I struggled to find my footing. The house felt empty without Jessica, and the memories of our time together haunted me. Friends and family offered support, but the betrayal cut deep, leaving me feeling isolated and alone. I threw myself into my work, using it as a distraction from the pain. Mark was a constant presence, his unwavering support helping me through the darkest days. He encouraged me to talk about my feelings, to confront the anger and sadness, rather than burying them. One day, while out for a walk to clear my head, I ran into an old acquaintance, Emily. We'd known each other in college but had lost touch over the years. She listened as I poured out my story, her empathy and understanding a balm to my wounded soul. Emily had been through her own share of heartache, and her perspective helped me see that healing was possible. With her encouragement, I started attending a support group for people dealing with infidelity and divorce. Sharing my story and hearing others' experiences helped me realize I wasn't alone. The pain was still there, but it began to feel more manageable as I connected with others who understood what I was going through. Jessica reached out a few times, mostly to finalize details about the divorce. Each interaction was painful, her presence a reminder of the betrayal. She expressed moments of regret, apologizing for the hurt she had caused, but it was clear that her priorities hadn't changed. She was still focused on her own future, her own needs. As time passed, I began to rebuild my life. I took up new hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and even started dating again. It wasn't easy, and there were days when the weight of the past felt overwhelming. But with each step forward, I felt a little stronger. Eventually, I decided to pursue my dream of starting my own architectural firm. It was a risky move, but it felt right. I wanted to build something positive out of the pain, to prove to myself that I could create a future on my own terms. The journey was challenging, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt. But with the support of Mark, Emily, and my new friends from the support group, I persevered. My firm began to take off, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. Looking back, I can see how far I've come. The betrayal and heartbreak were devastating, but they also taught me valuable lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of surrounding myself with people who genuinely care. Jessica remains a part of my past, a chapter in my story that shaped who I am today. I no longer hold on to the anger or the pain. Instead, I focus on the future, on the possibilities that lie ahead. The journey to healing was long and difficult, but it led me to a place of strength and self-discovery, and for that, I am grateful. One of the most painful and chaotic moments came months after the divorce, during an unexpected confrontation with Jessica. I was at a local cafe, meeting Emily for coffee, when I saw Jessica walk in. My heart sank as she spotted me and made her way over, a determined look on her face. "Alex, can we talk?" she asked, her voice edged with desperation. I looked at Emily, who gave me a reassuring nod. "Sure," I replied, gesturing to a nearby table. Jessica sat down, her eyes flickering with a mix of emotions. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry. I was wrong about so many things." I sighed, the familiar pain surfacing. "Jessica, it's too late for apologies. What's done is done." "I know," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "But I miss you, Alex. I miss us." Her words hit me hard, stirring a whirlwind of emotions. "You miss us? After everything you did?" She nodded, her tears falling freely now. "I was selfish and stupid. I thought I needed more, but I was wrong. I see that now." I shook my head, struggling to contain my anger. "You chose money and security over our love. You betrayed me." "I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I was scared, Alex. Scared of the future, of not having enough. But I've realized that none of that matters without you." Her words hung in the air, a painful reminder of the love we once shared. But I knew I couldn't go back. Too much had happened, and the trust was shattered beyond repair. "I can't do this, Jessica," I said, my voice firm. "I can't go back to what we had. It's over." She nodded, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "I understand. I needed to tell you how sorry I am." With that, she stood up and walked away, leaving me with a heavy heart. Emily reached out and took my hand, her touch grounding me. "You did the right thing, Alex," she said softly. The confrontation left me feeling emotionally drained, but it also gave me a sense of closure. I had faced Jessica, heard her regrets, and stood firm in my decision to move on. It was a turning point in my healing journey, a moment that reaffirmed my commitment to building a better future for myself. As I continued to heal, I found solace in new experiences and connections. Emily became a close friend and confidant, her presence a source of comfort and encouragement. We spent a lot of time together, exploring the city, trying new activities, and simply enjoying each other's company. One weekend, we decided to go on a hiking trip. It was a welcome escape from the daily grind and an opportunity to reconnect with nature. As we trekked through the lush forest, breathing in the fresh air, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. "How are you feeling?" Emily asked, as we reached a scenic overlook. I looked out at the breathtaking view, the expanse of mountains and valleys stretching before us. "Better," I replied with a smile. "Being out here, it helps clear my mind." Emily nodded, her eyes reflecting the serene landscape. "Nature has a way of healing. I'm glad you're finding some peace." We sat in companionable silence for a while, soaking in the beauty around us. It was moments like these that reminded me of the simple joys in life, the things that truly mattered. The pain of the past was still there, but it was fading, replaced by a growing sense of hope and possibility. Back in the city, my architectural firm was gaining traction. I threw myself into my work, pouring my creativity and passion into each project. The sense of accomplishment and purpose I felt was invigorating, a stark contrast to the uncertainty and turmoil of the past year. One evening, after a particularly successful presentation, I received a message from Mark. He wanted to celebrate, so we met up at our favorite bar. As we raised our glasses in a toast, I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for his unwavering support. "To new beginnings," Mark said, clinking his glass against mine. "To new beginnings," I echoed, feeling a genuine smile spread across my face. The night was filled with laughter and reminiscing, a reminder of the strength of true friendship. It was a celebration not just of professional success, but of the personal growth and healing I had experienced. As the months turned into a year, I continued to build my new life. I formed deeper connections with friends, rediscovered old passions, and even ventured into new hobbies. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer defined me. Instead, it had become a part of my story, a chapter that had shaped who I was but did not determine my future. One afternoon, I received an unexpected letter from Jessica. She had moved to a new city, started a new job, and was trying to rebuild her life. Her letter was filled with reflections and apologies, a final attempt to make amends. Reading her words, I felt a mixture of emotions, sadness, anger, but also a sense of closure. She was on her own journey of healing, and while our paths had diverged, I wished her well. I knew that holding on to bitterness would only hinder my own growth. I decided to write back, not out of a desire to rekindle anything, but to acknowledge her apology and offer forgiveness. It was a cathartic experience, a way to release the lingering resentment and truly move forward. With each passing day, I felt more grounded in my new reality. My architectural firm was thriving, and I was surrounded by a supportive network of friends and colleagues. I even started mentoring young architects, sharing my experiences and helping them navigate their own careers. One evening, as I was working late at the office, Emily stopped by with dinner. We sat together, eating and talking about our days. There was an ease in our friendship, a sense of mutual respect and understanding that I deeply valued. "You're doing really well, Alex," she said, her eyes warm with pride. "Thanks, Emily. I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, feeling a swell of gratitude. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and as the night went on, I realized how much I had come to cherish her presence in my life. She had been there for me through the darkest moments, offering unwavering support and encouragement. As we finished dinner, I found myself overcome with gratitude for her friendship. "Hey, I know this might sound out of the blue, but would you like to go out sometime? Just the two of us?" I blurted out, my heart racing. Emily's eyes widened in surprise, but a smile slowly spread across her face. "I would love that, Alex," she said, her voice soft. And just like that, a new chapter began. Our relationship grew slowly and steadily, built on a foundation of trust and understanding. We laughed, we cried, and we leaned on each other in times of need. It wasn't always easy, but it felt right. Months turned into years, and our love deepened with each passing day. We traveled the world together, explored new cultures, and made memories that would last a lifetime. Through it all, Emily remained my rock, my confidant, and my greatest source of joy. Looking back on my journey, I couldn't help but marvel at how far I had come. From the depths of heartache and betrayal, I had emerged stronger and more resilient than ever. I had found love again, not just with Emily, but with life itself. As I stood on the balcony of our cozy apartment, watching the sun set over the city's skyline, I felt a profound sense of peace. The scars of the past were still there, but they were no longer open wounds. They were reminders of my strength, my resilience, and my capacity for love. And as I wrapped my arms around Emily, pulling her close, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together. Hand in hand, heart to heart, we would embrace the journey, cherishing each moment and finding beauty in the unexpected twists and turns. For in the end, it was not the pain of the past that defined me, but the love that filled my heart and illuminated my path forward. And for that, I would be forever grateful.